frame of 3 hours. Don't know if we're going to get that done or not. I had to tilt this back a little bit so that we could get some light on it. Unfortunately, but it won't really affect me as I'm painting. Hopefully it doesn't affect the viewing of it too much. So let's continue here. Probably going to need to refurbish some of my supplies here. Definitely some white. Okay. All right. Got a little bit of everything else. We'll see how we need it as we go. Fortunately, we needed so much more of the white to just be able to work easily. All right. I suppose I could use that. Toss that into some of this white here, and there's some nice texturing already going on here from previous layers. I hope that that's close enough. We'll try and get it a little bit closer here. Something like that, maybe. Yeah. Okay. So, got some decent texturing going on already. And it is making, you know, a marked improvement in some areas. Maybe this particular one I'm not so fond of, so we'll try and remove it and get it in line with where I actually would have it. Alright. Now, what else do we really need to focus on is, you know, our bigger highlights on the flower itself. Need to figure out how to, you know, make it really pop and make some of the, you know, reddened areas, you know, pop a little bit more. Need to obviously clean up any of these areas of green that we're doing now. And see, these are all obvious things, so obvious that I can do them and talk. You know, we can talk about the Super Bowl that I couldn't care less about or didn't watch at all. Haven't really cared too much about sports in a while for whatever reason. They just kind of lost me when I started watching things, you know, on the internet mostly. I gotta say, this is actually not looking so bad. This really is not looking half as bad as you might think. You know, while we've got this white out here, I kind of want to use it to try to make some of these faded looks in the back of some of these areas. Like here we have this white, you know, thing with some other colorations in it, but we got this white thing that's kind of going like that, and you know, obviously it's another flower plant of some kind, but you know, just kind of faded and in the background. And same with over here, where we had this, you know, previous area where we were trying to denote it, that we've kind of gotten rid of a little bit more, and so we'll just try to fade in a little bit of this white here. And see, again, I'm just trying to make the whole thing just have a little bit more spark, a little bit more potential. We'll do the same over here, and maybe we'll make a little, you know, brown addition like there is underneath it on the picture itself. All of these are kind of the more unnecessary things that we're doing, but um, they do, help to spike the image itself in a general way. And so, nothing wrong with getting them done. I, haven't been painting for a few minutes. I had to go and do a little bit of work. And so it's good to get yourself kind of back into the mood before you have to do anything too terribly important on the painting itself. Okay, and let's see, is there maybe, a couple little areas up and over around here. Just sparking a little bit of whites and whatnot all around here. Yeah. And a nice little, just kind of a plazing kind of thing going there. All right. So, having to think a little bit more already losing the ability to speak in any kind of meaningful way. So let's try to get some of these supposed buds over here that are on these bits of brown stem. There are supposed to be like flower buds that are growing, and that makes things kind of look so much more realistic. Just those couple of flower buds. Amazing how that can work out. And maybe it's, also just a little bit more of a break in these colors that was not happening before. Okay, so let's take a look again where we are and what we need to get done. We got any more of these whites that we'd like to add in here? Probably somewhere around here. It looks like there's a nice little padding of coloration. How about there? It's more lime, but we can just go like that to make it work. All right. And this needs to be just a little bit more. Okay, so that's actually looking very decent. Like I said, we're getting into those points of the tour where we're allowed to start making, or attempting to make some details and some touch-ups. I mean, looking now at, the white and some of these browns here. Let me see if I can get some of them out. Yeah, it looks like a lot of them are dried up. I might need to get some new stuff. But we're going to try to use those colors to do these little bit of highlights inside of here to try to make a actual leaf. That's a bit better. A little strong right there, but besides that, it looks pretty good. On the other side, we've got just whites again. Okay, well that's fine. Let's use them to do some very, very obvious highlights on the dried paint. And before we get anything big done, we're going to have to get some more paints down on the palette here. However, there are still quite a bit of things to do here. Let me try and improve this image a bit. What exactly is going on here, I'm not sure, but that's alright. What'll fool the mind in reality will fool the mind in a painting. Probably a good thing to remember. Okay, and we're going to then do some very, very light portions of white along here. Maybe try to remove as much of the paint as we can, or actually just... Okay. That's not so bad. All right. Let's try to do a little bit of touch-up work now on these areas here, because I know that I got a little overzealous with my branch work. There, that's probably right. The other side here, try to just shorten it, and then along these two edges we had overdone it as well. Okay, so this is really looking, you know, it's looking like it's going to be done on time, I suppose. Would be a good way to say it. You know, this art commission that I've got here with myself to get this done in 3 hours. You know, it's important that we attempt our best to hold true to the things that we would like to do, if we can. If we can, that is. It can be very difficult, can't it, to be able to hold true to the things that we want. But I think it's useful to try your best to do the things that make you happy, make you satisfied with your life in general and in specific. And I could say that this is one of them. I'll say that we need to probably cut this a little bit short. Something like that looks a lot more correct. And we'll probably have to put in some kind of red into it to justify its length and look. Alright, so where are we? What are we doing next? Let's take some reds, because I know that they're still available underneath there. There we go. I'm going to try to make some pinks, and we're going to try to get this to be the right color and the right shade and have the right size. It's a series of pinks, reds, and some darks. We've still got a little bit of this violet as well. There it is. And we'll get those hues there and up on this upper corner here. You know, using the... And so here's a good point to be made. So this may seem a lot like, you know, almost tracing, you know, using the light that's already established to give myself a clear understanding of where I'm supposed to be putting things. But, you know, when you are to do a, you know, picture for anyone, if it was to be done in a real-time setting, I would say that even in that form, you are going to even in that form, you're going to probably want to take a picture of the person, or you're going to want them to come and sit in the same place with the same lighting on a day-to-day basis. So, you know, you're essentially doing what we're doing here, which is to look at an image and attempt to divine, you know, what the color scheme is for that image, and then replicate it on a canvas. Okay, it's getting a lot closer to right. So I will say maybe some of this reds here. And this is, you know, so you see how difficult I'm doing just to try and get these color schemes right in this very simple setting. Imagine if you're trying to do a face, you know, which is a lot of these same colors for what it's worth. A lot of these reds, a lot of whites, a lot of pink hues. But, you know, to get it right, And you know, that still isn't right. It looks, I think it looks rather good. I may hold it as it is after I get a little bit more of this violet in there. Try and, now that we have so many different colors, shades in there, to try to re-exemplify some of the darker areas. Let's see. What do we need? A little tiny bit here. Yeah, a little much on the end. And then little bits as it goes around. Alright, and then that looks good even if it's not in perfect congress with the other hue. Yeah, there we are. Oh yeah. Okay. So now let's see. We do have some really interesting color schemes going with these purples and these reds. Maybe we'll try to hold that for a moment and try to move that over into this guy over here. Let's try and get some streaking going on. Oh yeah, that looks good. It's very faint, so if you can't see it very easily, I apologize, but maybe a more solid streaking along this main axial. Might have to get some whites in there to clean that up. Doesn't look too strong, but that's very nice. I think that's a very some very delicate hues going on in there to help, you know, spark it up. Kind of difficult to see, but yeah, it is what it is, I suppose. It's sometimes good to do painting in low light, because then you will kind of create a more subtle image with stronger hues that will come out in higher lights, but will still hold an interesting form in low light settings. So a little bit feel like we're a little bit over mixing here in this, you know, particular flower. Yeah, it needs to have like one pronounced area with yeah, it needs to be more pronounced than that. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to get out a little bit more violet here, it looks like. Running pretty low on it. Okay. Alright, well, so I feel like we have been spending a good deal of time doing things that maybe aren't as quite as important as some of our other, you know, areas, but we're still budgeting our time fairly well. Okay. All right. I need some heavy white. Stamen. 1, 2, 3, 6, obviously with the petals. So they need to be in league with the petals. Get the bottom, and they kind of curve out. Alright, so I'm just kind of looking at the flower here and imagining how I'm going to try my best to emulate the stamen and the pistils. Those are the bits coming out there. So, so a little bit of reds, a little bit of whites. It'll be interesting to try to get this done. That looks a bit better. Whew, this is not going to be easy to do. I'm kind of almost avoiding it at this point because it's just, you know, you always do that when you've got a really difficult portion of a painting. It can be very difficult to decidedly do it right. Okay, so probably going to need to get out my liner brush. I'm going to need to why don't we start off with getting out the liner brush, and we'll try to, you know, rework some of these areas. With a little bit more detail, with just some whites again, through those red veins. Try and put a few small lines. Not easy, but not that difficult. Let's see. Okay. That one's pretty nice looking. Alright. Well, okay, we got out the liner brush. What we're going to do now, we probably don't actually need it. What we need is a smaller brush. Slightly smaller. Oh, you know, what we could do real quick is get some of these reds here. These purples. Get some of this water here. And go and touch these guys up with little tiny bits of color. And maybe the same for this guy here a little bit more. Alright. Yeah, almost like those are petals. Let's try that. There we are. Very decent. That's okay. That's within the paw. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to clean this guy off. We were trying to before. Get him out of here. and get a smaller brush that we were using before. Let's get a little drink. Can do a couple of different things. One is use this for this touch up right here. Necessary. This needs to be a little bit changed. That's a little bit extreme. Okay, now we need to find a slightly pink, slightly red color made out of white and red, obviously. Mostly white, but a little bit of red to give it that pink tinge. And there. Okay, we'll figure this out. Alright. And then they go in league with the thing. And we'll lighten this up in a moment. Okay. Not bad. Not perfect. Not bad though. Just have this kind of moving in time. And it connects here and with some colors at the bottom there. Alright, let's keep trying to go here. Okay, next one obviously is coming off of this one over here, and it's more outward, ending about there. Okay. Hopefully be able to fix that. Clean that up. Next one, jumping up and up and out this way. Ending like that. Okay, again, seems like it's an acceptable one. Straight on up. And something like that. Again, fine. Nothing really wrong. A little more water here. Make sure that this spreads so that that's something I gotta do twice. Okay, kind of like a fat end here and going like this. Not too far in though, and then ending. And finally, we have one that's moving from here, going like this, and moving like that. And yeah, ending probably right where it is now, actually. Okay, so there are our stamens. Or I'm sorry, are those pistils? I'm a little confused. Been a little too long since I've cared to properly name something. Okay, now what's necessary is to might finally get some black out here. Let's see. There's our black. It's all up in this one. I May get out some browns. Deeper browns might be just as good. I feel like I would have some black somewhere in here. Maybe it's hiding inside of this case here. Cold gray. Oh, here's some Mars black. Okay. All right. So, and there are a couple of different blacks. Mars black is very good for shading, but it must be used in very, very light amounts, lest you shade yourself right into oblivion and have nothing left. Okay, and in that vein, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a liner brush real quick. All right. Clean as it needs to be. And the liner brush I use, I think, is a number 2, but you can get all different sizes for whatever uses that you're going to have. So, this is going to be difficult. We're in some really, really touchy places now. All right, let's see here. Going to try to dot structure out a lot of these areas. We've got a larger white, middle stamen here that I'm going to black out so that I can just cover it with white and hopefully it'll make it just that much stronger. Have that background. Oh. Usually I would be cooking or doing something else right now, and my poor little goat knows it and is all upset at me for not, literally having them in while I'm cooking. Okay, let's black out that area there completely like it is. Alright, and then we're going to try it to do some of the other areas that are blacked out, just trying to manipulate it in the exact same look. Not having to think too much on the shadows, just using the real-time image to hopefully get as much of the shadowing as we need. Okay, with this widened out, it will look fine. Okay. So now we have a few other areas that we can use the black on right now. And that includes to just make these stamens, I believe is the right word, middles, exist. We'll basically put them up and make it so that we have ourselves an understandable point of reference for our two sides of it. And this is one of those times where you really got to have your mind on straight. You got to be really, really aware of what you're doing, because you've got, black paint on your thing, and that is got a lot more difficult ability to be removed than any other paint. So, keep that in mind on some basic level. That, the paint you're using may be more difficult to clear from one area or another. So, you know, make sure that you are very, very vigilant with it when you are using especially black paint. But it is really, really necessary for, you know, tiny, tiny things like underneath here to help define this over the bottom. You know, which you can see even on there is something that's, you know, present. You know, we can use it to help define these bottoms here again. Try not to overuse it though. Let's see, where else is there a little bit more definition than maybe on these ones down here. Okay. So again, look in there, get in there, kind of. It's a difficult one. It's difficult to make this flower come to life here, isn't it? But we'll see what else we can do here. So we need some. We're gonna go for you know, shading over that heavy light that we have. So why don't we go ahead and start to define some of this. Alright, well, that's looking decent. We do need to go through the pinks and put white in there. So I guess we can do that. Oh, man. Alright, so why don't we go on through here and try to get some of these pinks to be a little bit less prominent, especially as they reach towards the ends here. Okay. Got a goat wildly attacking the door handle to my house. Again, I'm gonna let it in. Alright, so that's a little bit better. Let's go ahead and try to get those browns down though, because I think that those browns, you know, will help to really define. And I think what we need is some burnt. Is it raw umber? It's not burnt. No. Let me see. I mean, that could be useful, but I don't think that's really what we're going for now. Let's see. Yellow ochre. Yellow ochre might mix with that to give us what we want. Yeah, it might. Let's see. No, I'm gonna need a little bit brighter of a brown almost. What do we got here? Burnt sienna. Yeah, burnt sienna is really close to almost just right. Let's see how that looks. Let's try it. Looks like it needs some white in it. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Alright, so let's get a little bit of white mixed in there with the next go. And then there we are. Okay, that looks just fine. All right, let's see. Next one, something like that. Oh, acorn. Get some whites in there. Okay. And brown and get this guy right here. The other side. Okay. And then we'll get a little bit of whites here and try and get them to sparkle up the sides here. A bit. Not getting them to flow very easily right now. Let's get more, I guess. Alright, that looks pretty good. Alright, well, it's still good. I feel like we're missing something out of some of our sides here. There we go. There we go. It's nice. Just keep moving. Get a little bit coloration in there. Okay, good. Alright. Now we'll keep moving down to here. I got a little longer one here. Alright. Okay, and finally, holy gracious. And still gonna have to do some, touch-ups and everything on these guys, of course. We've got this guy who's kind of peanutting out here like this. Alright. So we're gonna need to do a whole bunch of touch-ups. We're gonna have to go through and try to... Oh, there's a lot to do. Oh, while we got, this out, we got plenty of white out, why don't we try to put in that white colored stamen, since it's so blaringly obvious. And you can see it there, but you can't understand what you're looking at. So let's try our best here. Get this stamen here. Is this the stamen? Is this the pistils and stamen? Is this the stamen and those are the pistils? I don't know. Okay, so there, that looks much better. Kind of begs, the question of what are some of these shades over here. But that's much better. Okay. All right. That's not so bad. It needs a lot of work still. Maybe I'll just switch back to black here. Fade to black. And just keep on doing a whole bunch of touch-ups, because that's really where it feels like we are. Just in touch-up town right now. Oh, sometimes it takes a lot of touch-ups to really bring out something. I feel like that's where we are with this guy. So let's see if we can do it or not. Because sometimes you can just touch something right up into fucking garbage town. Better or worse? you know? Oh, need a lot of water to get this to flow with this tiny brush. Alright, let's see. See, sometimes you've got to like make color, exist in a very faded way, even when it is, something as strong as black. And, some people are very good at, probably applying the exact amount needed, whereas I have a little bit more of an issue and I'm having to use my finger and whatnot to try to reduce the total amount of overall paint on the canvas itself. Which is an effective way to do it, obviously. But, and, I'm taking off a ton of paint before I even put the paintbrush on the canvas. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. That's not so bad. We're getting there. Yeah, so before, like I said, we're trying to do a little bit more, I feel like, shading than we are trying to do than we are trying to do the heavy light that you'll see in the actual image. Um, Shading is always so much easier when it comes to trying to help create definition. Right. Believe it or not, I feel real bad because the poor little goats would have heavy expectations out of me that I would be there right now, letting them sit around inside. It's not cold out though, so I mean, my main concerns about them are kind of moot, you know, and even then they can withstand a great deal of cold in comparison to any other animal that I've ever known. All right, we're starting to get there though. We're starting to get a little bit of these definitional, points that I would hope that we would have, hope that we would have had already, but it's okay. At least our texturing that we did earlier is, helping a bit. Um, Hopefully any of the charcoaling work we did something of value. Well, after you put on so much damn paint, you can't really be sure that it does it? Alright, so, let's see. So, I know I'm being a little boring here. You're doing some of these touch-ups, it does take a lot of your mind away. and you really do have to think a bit more than you would have throughout most of the rest of the painting. But they are probably the most important portions of any painting, as they help to really, really define everything and bring it all out into focus. It's kind of like a salt in, cooking. You'd be amazed at, if you're having an issue with something, what adding some salt would do if you haven't added any, because it just has a very defining form, at least for human consumption. And by human consumption, I mean the way we consume as humans. That there's a very defined form to salt and the way that it makes things taste. And there are plenty of cultures that probably would disagree with such a sentiment. Not many that are, of any heavy significance in our current world today. But there are probably some. So a lot of just tiny stuff, trying to throw in some extra detail here and there. Not easy. Fairly thankless, as you can scarcely tell sometimes. But it does help to really define things. And looking, it's not looking like the worst. It's not the worst thing in the world. I'm not the most proud of it, but that's okay. Um, you know, it can be very difficult to make good paintings, especially quickly. I mean, what makes something good, as defined by you or I, may be very different, and you may find some of the more casual things that a artist might do to be good, whereas I will find them to be, you know, I don't know if atrocious is the right word, but maybe almost infantile. And I mean, even the work we're doing here, I'll say, is maybe within that bounds, because it is fairly quick. But I'm trying my best to make it have some staying power, hopefully. Poor creature. I don't know if you guys can hear that ridiculous sound of my doorknob being turned by a little goatee trying desperately to come in. To no real end, it's not like there's anything really in here. I'll give him some, food or something, but, kind of funny, kind of a funny behavior. Well, they enjoy me, right? That's how animals work. They enjoy their owners and their pets, at least. Maybe not all animals are within those bounds. All right, well, that's certainly within the bounds of almost what I would think is good. Oh, almost. Almost. We're going to work a little bit longer. We're going to give it, an hour and a half, like we did earlier, and hopefully we'll be able to say that we're satisfied. And if we're not, we might call it anyway, because we don't want to spend too much time on each individual flower, because eventually it's going to be summer again, and I'm going to need to do a great deal of work, or at least as much as I can muster, and I won't be wanting to spend my time painting. I prefer to do that in times of wintry months. Here, which one's dominant? The top. All right. Oh yeah, that's helpful. All right, a lot of work. Didn't expect to do any painting today, but that's okay. Fun to do, I suppose. Depends on what fun is, huh? Okay, we need a lot more, since we've decided to go with, the black shading over any other, aesthetic. We need a lot more shading along here. Alright. So we get it pretty well defined almost everywhere. Alright, let's pull that down. Oh, not easy to do. Very difficult, almost to the point of annoyance. Alright, alright, oh, girl. Alright, let's see. Okay. Let's get a little bit around the outside petal, or the outside flower here that's on the right. Too strong here. Oh, stronger than that though. Here we are. Okay, try again. Okay. Smooth that out and then try to do the same on the bottom here. There we are. And we'll try to give this a little definition as well. Same on this bottom guy here. All right. It's not really bad at this point. It's completely within the pall of something which could be said to be acceptable. Whew. It's tiring. Man. Doesn't seem like it should be, but man, is it tiring. So a few very, very faint black lines within the pistils would be good. We get the stamen to be a little bit brighter, a little bit more whites in there, I suppose, would be important. And finally, maybe some black around some of these areas. Yeah. All right, let's go for it. Okay. It's probably too strong for there. All right. Okay. Blacks. A little bit more black here. Again, trying to highlight this stamen, if that's the right name. Gotta go and get some whites to go and reconnect that. Don't want it to actually. There we go. Let's see. A little bit more blacks here. You could go and, reuse all of everything I'm saying for some kind of redistricting, meeting. More whites here, more blacks here, a little bit of pinks. No, that doesn't seem to work. But yeah, so we're getting there. We're getting to something that's looking very, very much like what I would have wanted. I guess, I don't know. Not bad, really not terrible. I guess need some heavy highlights on this top area here. Okay, looking pretty nice. Again, let's try to find some of these areas here. Okay, just again trying to do some basic definitional lines while kind of keeping it very subtle and kind of hazy. definition, not really though. Let's see. Oh, let's get that off. Okay. So, still got some things in here to try to right. Although it's not in the image of the flower there, we're going to make all of these tips, blackened because some of them are and some of them aren't, and it'll give it more of a unique and codified look if they all are. Alright. Okay, so I feel like we still need to do a little bit of defining around let's take a look here. Let's really look at this. Yeah, okay. Still some major definition that needs to be made. And it's mostly, again, a lot of these blacks that are needed in these little areas. Just help define what it is that is being presented. All right. This is a difficult, thing to those last bits out that help to make sure that you're actually seeing what you're seeing. But, I feel like we're getting there. Slowly but surely. Maybe slower than sure. But all right. So I'm starting to grow more and more satisfied with the actual, image here. Wanted to, do a little bit more of, weird background stuff to try to help, spike it up a little bit and make it, just look a little bit more lively. Well, okay, so now is the decision time of whether or not to start doing things outside of the box a little bit more. And I'm going to try to add a little bit more definition to each of these leaves. Whether or not it's going to work or not is completely a question of my ability and uh, my relative insight into, this image. Okay. Because these veins here, they do exist in real time and in much larger masses on the actual flower. But in the image that we're being shown, of course, those veins are white in coloration. So we're just going to try our best to, make something that's more defined. And hopefully it will end up looking good instead of bad. Again, it really depends on my level of skill here. As you can see with that one there, such a integral place as well. But also doesn't look bad at all. Are we frozen? Look like we might be frozen up. Yeah. Whatever. I'm frozen up in real life. More actual sauce there. A little more actual paint to get that bad boy to flow. Okay. I'm just making an onion, huh? Nope. Look like there's an extra peel on this one. Okay, so this is an issue of using your right hand versus your left, not reordering it so that you can make those structural turns with the musculature that you have. So, this is starting to look a little bit cooler. More water, obviously. Not sure which is frozen up, me or, it says that we're not dropping even any exasperative amount of frames, so I'm going to guess that my Stream Deck is, or my Stream Manager is frozen up. I'm just going to keep going, and also, at some point you're not really doing things for other people, are you? Are you doing them for yourself? Or sometimes you are doing them for other people, but not for random strangers, I'll say that much, is for sure. Alright. So it's starting to look a little bit nicer. Have a little bit more flash to it. Very nice. Um, what a liner brush can do versus other brushes. And you know, some of what we're doing here is a factor of the fact that we've already done a good deal of work to make, you know, this look as good as it is when we put it on there. All right, so very decent. Maybe add a little bit of that same pizzazz to some of these other guys here, as if they are opening up soon. That top one's a little bit off. And likewise, we'll do that to maybe. All right. Well, most certainly not perfect. How much time do we have? An hour 17. Well, that's more than nothing. Most certainly should take advantage of it. Well, we will go maybe the opposite. I was thinking of putting some white or some black on, you know, these pistils here, but I was thinking, well, you know, if you put white, you might be able to help redefine them more than the black will. Because there's all these other colors now that are, you know, helping to make a contrast, whereas before there was literally nothing. So I'm able to make a little bit more stronger of a statement with some of these now. Obviously I could before. Looks pretty good. Okay. More as we move down. All right. That's not so bad. That's actually not so bad right now. I'm not in love, but I'm definitely not in hate. Um, a little bit more whites here. Pick up some of this space. All right. All right. Um, all right. Well, not an exact replication by any means, but incredibly, incredibly decent for a single day, for a few hours. Um, all right. All right. Hmm. Trying to get satisfied with this. Trying to put this paintbrush down and go make myself some food. All right. I feel like the biggest thing missing here right now is maybe more reds. More reds and pinks. Um, in that vein, I'm going to trying to do this again without having to add too much more paint to my palette. It's getting there. It really is. You can tell yourself that as many times as you want, right? Whether it is or is not. And it's hard to tell, some of these subtle differences that I'm making probably with the lighting that I have on here, and I am sorry about that ridiculous, um, oversight on my part. But didn't really expect to be doing any painting today, so okay. So the last thing I think that's really important here is to really define these pistils. Some of them, as we're going down towards this area here, seem to be pretty undefined. Some as we're going up higher, lack definition. And if we can just get these defined, I feel like we're going to be on board to put a signature on this and call it good, knowing the time constraints that we had put on ourselves for it. hope that we're still somewhere near those time constraints for what it's worth. How are we doing? Yeah, we're right on there. We're right on the edge. So that's good. Sorry for a little quiet here. Just needing to concentrate to get this done in time. Okay. The reason why I'm rushing is because I feel like I would love to put another layer of white in a couple of areas. Stamens 1. But also most of these pistils I wouldn't mind having be mostly white, as they are in the picture, but also because they're a better contrast against the petals, which now have a bit of color to them. Oh, that's no good. We'll have to go and touch this up in a moment. Reinvigorate that black line. Some problems with rushing is that you are literally not taking as much time to be careful. Putting on more paint, trying to get it done faster, and make a little bit more mistakes. Actually, a lot of the mistakes that you make as a amateur artist are related to the amount of paint that you have on the paintbrush. A lot of the time, actually. So we're getting right at that 130 mark. So I'm going to call it, here is a finished painting of an asphodel flower. And it's not that bad. It's really not. I'm going to call it, and I'm going to say that it's pretty good, even. So, we need A26. A26. Okay. And then we need my signature here. Not the best one, but that's okay. All right. And there is a finished painting. Maybe not the best painting in the world, but not the worst painting either. Took some time, a little bit of effort, and hopefully it's appreciated on some level. Not bad in low light, and as we give it more light, it's not bad at all. I can even take the camera here and give you a little bit better a view of it. Let's do it like that. How about that? And then we'll figure out where we are. That's acceptable. Perfect? No. But, definitely acceptable. Very difficult to see in the lighting, presented. And with the camera. Sorry about that. There are some pinks and some other hues that you can't really see otherwise. Besides that, it looks okay as a form. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, everybody. This has been another episode of the painting podcast, I suppose, that I'm doing. Podcast, it's just painting. But this has been a nice episode of painting. I hope that everybody enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.